All right, so good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Infinite Social Solutions ChatGPT live presentation. My name is Jonathan Williams. I am the owner of Infinite Social Solutions. Infinite Social Solutions, we are a company that provides IT services to small businesses and nonprofits. Some of the services that we offer are IT training, social media management, web design, resume writing, computer repair, and IT consultations. All right, so today's presentation is going to be about ChatGPT. I'm going to go over what it is, what it's used for, how it works. I'm also briefly going to go over artificial intelligence because that seems to be a hot topic nowadays. A lot of people get it. A lot of people don't get it. So um, not only I want to teach you and show you how to use ChatGPT, but I'm also going to help dispel some of the myths of AI and things associated with AI. So if you just joined me, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. If they pertain to what I'm talking about at the moment, I'll try to answer the question at that time. But I do have a section at the end of the presentation where I'll just go ahead and go over as many questions as I can. All right, so before we start, a few things. So this presentation is not going to be very in-depth, and what I mean by that is I'm not going to go into the full history of AI. It's not going to be a full explanation. It's just going to be a brief overview of AI because it's a really deep subject and it can go on and on. And the way my teaching style is, I want to make sure that when you, after you finish listening to me and we finish talking about the subject, that you have a better understanding at the end. So that way you can take that knowledge and do the research yourself. But I am going to briefly go over AI, explain some things about that. And then we're going to get into the Chat GPT and I'm going to show you how to use that. All right. So again, if you have any questions, just put them in the chat. So let's get started. All right, just get the presentation up here. All right. So presentation is Chat GPT. So the first thing I'm going to go over is AI. So a big question a lot of people have, what is artificial intelligence? If you believe you have an idea what AI is, go ahead and put it in the chat, but we're going to go over it. So what is artificial intelligence? AI, short for artificial intelligence, refers to the field of computer science that focuses on creating intelligent machines that can perform tasks that would typically require human intelligence. AI systems aim to simulate human-like cognitive processes such as learning, reasoning, problem solving, perception, and decision making. In short, it's basically they're taking a computer program and trying to have it mimic the human thought process as close as possible. And the application can be used in many different things, and we're going to go over that here in a moment. So first I want to go over some things that are not artificial intelligence, okay? So these are the these are actually the 5 basic things that do not fall into the category of artificial intelligence. However, AI is made up of one or all of these things, okay? So how AI works, it uses one of these bullet points, okay? And I'm gonna go over each one, all right? So the first one is traditional automation. It's the use of machines or computer systems to perform repetitive tasks or follow predefined rules without any adaptive or learning capabilities. So the best example of that would be like Microsoft Office, okay? So that is not AI. The biggest thing is that with computer programs like Office or just any computer program for the most part, what you're doing is you're inputting information, and basically the computer is taking that input and giving you the result back. Okay. The computer has no idea that when you hit A on your keyboard that you're hitting the letter A. The computer just knows that that corresponds to a code within the computer's memory. And then when you hit the key, it sends a message to that code. That code shows up on your computer screen as the letter A. But the computer doesn't know that it's the letter A or anything like that. So also traditional automation would be like an assembly line in like a factory or something like that. Like those tools, those robots on the assembly line, they have one simple task and they do that task. If something goes wrong, it doesn't know what to do when something goes wrong. It's never been taught what to do when something goes wrong. Now, there can be a little gray area in that because you can have automation run on AI. Okay, so when you talk about traditional automation, it's those types of things that are running on a basic computer program that isn't necessarily run by AI. But there's a gray area. But when you get into it and do your research, you'll find there's a lot of gray area with a lot of this stuff. All right. Second bullet point: what is not artificial intelligence? Statistical analysis. And that's the use of mathematical and statistical techniques to analyze data, identify patterns, and make predictions. All right. Next one, expert systems. Now, expert systems is one, like I just talked about, gray area, because you can have expert systems that aren't run on AI, and then you can have expert systems that are just computer programs, but they essentially would do the same thing. Expert systems are computer programs designated to mimic human expertise in specific domains. You will find expert systems used in healthcare, in engineering, scientific fields like biochemistry, those types of job fields that you will find expert systems. Data processing involves organizing, transforming, and manipulating data to generate desired outputs. And last but not least, rule-based systems. Rule-based systems rely on sets of predefined rules and logical operations to make decisions or perform actions. Now, you may be familiar with a rule-based system if you've ever seen those flow charts that start like, okay, you have this problem, and then you have an arrow going in one direction, an arrow going in another direction. And depending on your answer, whatever your answer is, you'll follow that arrow. The arrow will go to some other results, and you'll keep, it'll ask another question, and whatever your answer is, so on and so forth. So it's like a flow chart. So I'm pretty sure you've seen rule-based systems before, but these 5 are what's considered not artificial intelligence. However, AI is built from one or all of these bullet points that I just went over. All right. So again, if you're just joining me, if you have any questions, please put it in the chat and I will try to answer them the best I can. So we're going to go over to the next slide. All right. So when it comes to AI, AI is split into, keeps going back. Okay. So AI is split into 3 different categories, okay? So first category is narrow AI or weak AI. Narrow AI are systems are designed to perform specific tasks within a limited domain. All right. So those type of AI systems we are all familiar with. You may not be aware of it, but you've been dealing with narrow AI for decades. If you've ever played Pac-Man or any video game, the enemies in the video game are run off a very simple version of AI, or again, narrow AI. Pac-Man is a great example because if you notice that the enemies or the bad guys in the game, the ghosts, they all have their they all have a specific pattern, and they all respond to what the player is doing. They all have their own built-in AI, right? Other examples of narrow AI would be Siri or Alexa. That is a narrow AI. Also, the chat bots that if you go to a website and they have a customer service chat bot, that chat bot may be run by AI. It's very limited. Those narrow AIs cannot do anything outside of what their program allows them to do. All right. So I know people talk about, AI is going to take over the world and things of that nature. Siri, Alexa aren't going to do anything that they aren't programmed to do. So they're not going to just wake up one day and take over all your electronics. That's not going to happen. Okay. But yeah, so those are examples of narrow AI. Artificial general intelligence, or AGI, is the mid category of AI. These are systems that possess human level intelligence. The best example of that would be IBM's Watson AI or computer. If you've ever heard of that, IBM has been working or developing Watson for decades. One of the first things they taught Watson how to do was to play chess. And not only play chess, but learn from each game until Watson got better. So Watson is a supercomputer that they taught to play chess. And then once they taught it to play chess, they taught it to learn how to get better at chess, to the point where I believe only one human has beaten Watson so far, and I think that was Kasparov. I might be off on that. But that is artificial general intelligence. Watson cannot do anything outside of what IBM allows it to do or tells it to do, okay? So again, Watson is not going to take over the world. In fact, AI has not gotten there yet, but they are trying to fast track it to that point. Now, the AIs that can or would be capable of taking over the world, taking over electronics and things of that nature, that's called artificial superintelligence. All right, so that's short ASI. Those are systems that surpass human intelligence in almost every aspect. So ASI would be your fictional, right now, because it doesn't exist yet, would be your fictional artificial intelligence. So like in Terminator, you got Skynet. If you watch MCU movies, Vision from the Avengers, or Jarvis, for that matter, those are ASIs. Those are AIs that surpass human intelligence. They think and act on their own. They learn from mistakes, because they can make mistakes. But those are the artificial superintelligence. So again, the ASI, that is what people are fearful of, and what people perceive as what's going to take over the world. But again, we're not there yet. Hopefully we never get there in our lifetime, because that would be a sight. All right. So again, if you're just joining, if you have any questions, please put it in the chat. I will try to answer your question. So, what is OpenAI or ChatGPT? All right, so we're going to get into ChatGPT. So, ChatGPT is a sibling model to instruct GPT, which is trained to follow an instruction in a prompt and provide a detailed response. Okay, so basically what that means is instruct GPT. Okay, instruct GPT is the program or algorithm that tells the chat GPT what to do. So all the instructions, all the information are in the instruct GPT. That is the basis of that is the AI of chat GPT. All right. So what it does is when you do input something into chat GPT, that information gets sent to the instruct, and the instruct takes that information, breaks it down, figures out what it is exactly that you're asking or inputting into the chat, and then it sends it back to the chat, and the chat basically gives you a result, right? But it gives you a result as if you were actually talking to a person. But we'll go over that and we'll see examples of that as well. All right. So a lot of people, they haven't really asked me this question, but I've seen online, especially on social media, that people have a lot of misconceptions of how AI gets its information. Basically, AI gets its information. We basically gave it the information. Okay, so the internet, inputs and data from your phone, electronic devices, like when you talk to Siri, Siri is taking in that information, whatever question you ask it or instruction you give it, it's taking that information, putting it through an algorithm, figuring out what you want. If it's not what you want, normally you'll repeat it, or you can tell Siri that's not what you want, and that information gets sent back, and then that cycle continues. But AI gets its information from everywhere. Basically, whatever we input into the AI, that's how it gets its information. All right, but it's done. We do it passively by using our phones, using Siri, using Alexa, even using our TVs. We're feeding information to an AI somewhere. More commonly, though, AI gets its bulk of information from the internet. Okay, so will these slides be available after the presentation? Yes, the presentation. Good question, Will. Thank you for joining. So the presentation will be available on the Facebook page and on the YouTube page. So they'll be there for you to reference, and I can also send you a copy of the slides as well too. So back to how ChatGPT gets its information. So ChatGPT is an AI language model that was trained on a large body of text from a variety of sources: Wikipedia, books, news articles, scientific journals. Like I said, they, when building the ChatGPT, the information that they used came from the internet, came from books and journals, and so on and so forth. The data set only went up to 2021, meaning that it lacks information on more recent events. So you can ask ChatGPT whatever you want, but it's only going to be able to give you information up to, and specifically up to, I believe, September of 2021. So anything that happened or any new information that came after that time, it's either not going to give you a result, or it's going to give you an incorrect result. Okay, so ChatGPT can only give you information up to about around September of 2021. In the chat, I read about a legal case where the lawyers used ChatGPT to write some of the legal documents in brief, and ChatGPT actually made up cases that didn't exist that it cited in the documents filed to the judge. Yes. So thank you for the question, Tula, and thank you for joining. So yes, there is an actual, and I'll show you when we get there. So ChatGPT can only give you information that it has. So to be more specific, it doesn't know that when they did that search, and they were trying to when it was looking for cases and things like that. ChatGPT is instructed to accept your prompt, which is the information you give it, and give you a response. It doesn't know, like if you're searching for legal cases, a lot of people have this misconception, like the AI doesn't know that what a legal case is. All it's doing is going through its information, using the algorithm that was built for it to go through all the information that it's been given to build a response in relation to a legal case, right? So there's even a disclaimer on their website that says that it can give incorrect information, right? But it's a good thing that it gives incorrect information, because you have the ability to say or tell ChatGPT that this is incorrect. So that way that algorithm can try to correct itself. The people who built that algorithm, they also work behind the scenes to update and correct information to make sure that ChatGPT does give you a more correct result. But those lawyers, if they couldn't be my lawyers. let's just put it like that. They couldn't be my lawyers if they're using ChatGPT to create documents to help me win my case. Like I know better. I'm pretty sure they didn't know better. They were just trying to cheat. They probably still got paid. But yeah, ChatGPT can give you incorrect information. That's also a disclaimer on the website. So, but that brings you to paragraph 3. So So paragraph 2. So it's also important to understand that ChatGPT does not access a database of facts to answer your questions. Instead, its responses are based on patterns that it saw in the training data. Okay. So yeah, to answer that should answer your question there. So ChatGPT is not always trustworthy. It can usually answer general knowledge questions accurately, but it can easily give misleading answers on more specific topics. So when it comes to law and legal things, you are going to get, more likely, you're going to get an incorrect answer. Another consequence of this way of generating responses is that ChatGPT usually can't cite its sources accurately. It doesn't really know what source it's basing any specific claim on. It's just to check any information you get from it against a credible source. So that was a good question, because that's exactly what this slide was about, Tula. So thank you for that. They're in a lot of trouble with the judge. They might get disbarred. They ought to. They really ought to. That's not something, that's really not something they should be using ChatGPT for anyway. But I'm pretty sure at some point, if they haven't already, there probably will be a expert system built on AI for just legal stuff. But I'm pretty sure that's coming if it's not already being worked on. So we're going to get into, I'm going to talk about the common uses of ChatGPT. These are the 8 most common uses for ChatGPT. For each one of these, I'm going to, when we get to ChatGPT, the demonstration, I'm actually going to go over and give examples of how each one can be used, except for virtual assistants, because you can't do that in basic ChatGPT, but I'll go over that in more detail. So for customer support, all right? So if you ever go to a website and you go to the support page and you have the option to, quote unquote, speak to a representative, right? What happens is, the chat box pops up, somebody starts typing. So before they started using AI, they would just use a rule-based system. So what that did was you would ask a question and you would type in your question, right? Question would be like, where can I find XYZ? When you sent that question, that chatbot would just basically, it was basically a search engine. It would take what you typed in, take those keywords, and try to find a knowledge-based article with those keywords, and it would feed that back to you, right? So what would happen is a lot of times, if you had a very specific question and they didn't have a knowledge-based article on it, you would just get a generic knowledge-based article that did not have any relevance to what you were actually looking for, right? That gets frustrating after a while, right? So with using ChatGPT, what can actually happen is that you can type in that same question, and what the ChatGPT AI is going to do is actually, instead of just giving you a knowledge-based article, it's going to try to answer the question as best as it can for you, which is a good thing because it's not just regurgitating a knowledge base, but it's actually taking into consideration the question you're asking, putting it through its algorithm, and giving you the best response that it can. I've seen on some sites that use ChatGPT now, some of the results are actually pretty good. Like, you don't even have to speak to a live person in most cases, unless it's just something really specific that, you know, that you actually need to talk to an actual human being. I've been to other sites where they use ChatGPT for their customer support, and it sucks. Like, it's actually sometimes worse than when you actually use just like the standard chat bot that they used to use. But that's how it's used in customer support. Virtual assistants, we all should be familiar with that. If you have an Apple phone, you've got Siri. If you have an Android, you've got Google in your home. If you have Alexa, Alexa is a virtual assistant. So those virtual assistants have been using AI even before ChatGPT got started. A lot of them behind the scenes may be switching to ChatGPT just because it takes out the they don't have to put as much work in as they were doing before ChatGPT existed. So they just basically get a license to use ChatGPT, configure it however they need to configure it to work with in the bounds of their environment. Like Amazon has Alexa, so they'll use the ChatGPT technology to already complement what Alexa already does, and you'll never see any of that. That's all behind the scenes, but you'll probably never notice the change either because Alexa worked so well before that. But that is how it's used with virtual assistants. Content generation. If you are a web designer, if you are a social media specialist, if you are just a content creator, you make videos, TikToks, things of that nature, even with blog posts, you can use ChatGPT to create blog posts, social media posts, things of that nature. Will, you said, to your knowledge, has Amazon Prime upgraded to ChatGPT option for customer service, or like DoorDash, because their bot responses are trash? I consider these fairly large companies. So I do know AI. Amazon has been working on that, has been using AI for a while. I think so with a lot of these companies, because I've worked for a lot of companies, it basically comes down to where their priorities are. Amazon is working on an AI. Their AI complements Alexa. So that's where that priority is. As far as the customer service, they'll eventually get there, but it's not a concern of theirs. Now, as far as like other companies like DoorDash who aren't using them yet, right now it's a matter of taking ChatGPT and configuring it specifically to your company. So for companies like DoorDash, and Uber, or any of those, one, they have to figure out if it's going to be cost effective, because they do have to buy, or well, it's an open license, so I should say buy the license. It's an open license, but they can buy extra features for they can buy extra features. And actually, I do believe if you're a large company, you do have to like buy a license, but anybody can use ChatGPT and configure it however they want. But it's one is putting money behind the technology, and then also two, hiring staff to maintain that technology and update and stuff like that. So for some companies, large companies like Amazon, they really don't care. They'll get there when they get there. For smaller companies, it's a matter of, is it going to be cost effective? Like, do they really need to utilize AI at this stage in the game? But that's going to differ from company to company, though. But thanks for that question. Thanks for bringing that up. But again, like for content generation, if you get stuck and you need to write a quick blog post, ChatGPT can do that for you. If you need to make some quick social media posts, even with some other sites, I'm not going to get into them too much, but like they have the websites that generate AI art and AI video. Not specific to ChatGPT, but those are other AIs you can use for content generation. But specifically for ChatGPT, if you want a quick blog post, quick social media post, the way I use it is if I need to make a quick blog post, I can actually input how many paragraphs I want, how many sentences I want each paragraph. It'll give me a response. And what I'll do is I'll take that response and edit it down, and then maybe and actually rewrite it in my own words. So that way it's not, quote unquote plagiarism. But it's still my words, but it's I use it as a shortcut for that. Another common use is education and training. You can actually ask the ChatGPT. You can put equations in there. For teachers, they can use it to create lesson plans. When it comes to the tutoring, you can actually chat with the ChatGPT and ask it specific questions about an equation or a problem that you have, history questions, things of that nature. You can use it for that. But keep in mind that anything that came out or anything new that came out after 2021, it's not going to be able to find that information. So if you're asking a history question and you need to look up something from 2020, information was up to 2021. If you ask it any information from 2022 or 2023, it's not going to be able to find it because it doesn't have that information. All right. Language translation, that's self-explanatory. If you needed something like a essay translated from English to Russian, you can just copy and paste it into ChatGPT and it'll give you the answer. Information retrieval. Again, if you need to look up some information, you can do that. I've actually been semi-successful in looking up city ordinances for Baltimore. I don't know what I did, but the first time I asked the question, it couldn't find the information, or it didn't have the information. But I reworded my prompt, and then it was able to find the information. So, prompt detail and wording is very important, but we'll go over that. Personalized recommendations, ChatGPT. If you want to find a new book to read, and you just put into ChatGPT specifically what type of book genre. You can even get down to like character type. Like if you want to read books about specific characters, you can go into detail about that, and it'll try to find you recommendations based on all the information that you put in there. You can get super detailed if you want. Next is interactive games and entertainment. I've actually used this, and I'm going to go over an example of this. If you ever played Dungeons and Dragons, ChatGPT can actually, you can ask it to create a character for your Dungeons and Dragons campaign, and once you've done that and it creates a character, you can actually keep that conversation going, and ChatGPT will then only respond to you as that character. So that's a pretty good. That was pretty cool. I had some fun with that. But again, these are the common uses of ChatGPT. If you have any questions, again, put them in the chat. Thank you, everybody that's watching. If you have questions, just keep firing them at me. So, using ChatGPT. All right, so now we're going to get to what you all been waiting for. Is actually using ChatGPT. So, give me a moment here so I can pull up the page. And how is everybody feeling today? I didn't ask that. Hope everyone is doing well. All right, cool. So, ChatGPT. So the website for ChatGPT is chat.openai.com. All right, so I'm gonna put it in the chat for everyone. So openai.com. And it is free. All it requires, if you have a Google account, you can log in with any Google account that you have. You can also set up an account for it. You know, you get a password and everything like that. But it is free, so you don't have to pay for it. But once you log in, you'll actually get this screen here. So this is the home screen. This is the ChatGPT home screen. I don't know how much I can stress this because I do understand that people don't like to do a lot of reading. So when they see things like this, they normally don't pay attention to it, right? But this homepage here, these 3 columns, examples, capabilities, and limitations, essentially tell you everything that ChatGPT can and cannot do. Okay? So right from the get-go, it's letting you know, like, hey, my limitations are may occasionally generate incorrect information, may occasionally produce harmful instructions or biased content, limited knowledge of the world events of the world and events after 2021. So right there, it's telling you what it can and cannot do. All right. So don't get mad if it gives you some wrong information or it can't find something, because it's right there. It's telling you probably not gonna be able to find it, might be wrong. Okay. Middle column, capabilities. ChatGPT remembers what the user said early in the conversation, allows user to provide follow-up corrections. So this is how the AI learns, is that if you do come across some information that's incorrect, you can actually correct or send the AI the correct information. And then once it gets that information, there are humans in the background that actually sift through that information as well to make sure that the information that you're sending is correct before it actually tells the AI and lets it know that, hey, this information is correct, or this information that you were sent is still the incorrect information, right? One thing they're not going to do is, because they want it to learn on its own, so what they're not going to do is, if they are sent incorrect information, they're not just automatically going to go and give it the correct information, right? It wants to, they want to train the AI to say, hey, this is wrong. You need to go find out what is right, right? And that's how you learn. And the third capability, or just in the list, train to decline inappropriate requests. All right. So anything pornographic, anything harmful, things like swearing and things like that, it will decline that request because it knows not to accept those type of things now. Very early on, it didn't know how to do that. And there were cases, and probably read in the news, where AI would curse back at people and things like that. Of course, the AI didn't know it was cursing. It just knew that that was how you respond to a curse, right? Or swear word. So it would just give that response back, right? But you don't want that because you don't want kids, possibly, seeing something that they shouldn't be seeing. So basically, it's been trained to just decline all of those type of requests. All right. So some examples of things you can type into ChatGPT in this first column here. One example is you can ask it to explain quantum computing in simple terms. Got any creative ideas for a 10-year-old's birthday party? Or how to make an HTTP request in JavaScript, right? I personally like that one because ChatGPT can actually write script and code for websites or for in HTML. It can write code in JavaScript, Python. I think almost every major coding language there is. You could just basically type in what you want that code to do, to be able to do, and ChatGPT will give you a result. All right. Cool. Take a quick couple second break here talking. But any questions so far for anybody that's still in the chat? I'm just taking a quick breather. All right. Cool. All right. So before I start, if you have any questions, put them in the chat. If there's anything that you want me to put into ChatGPT, so we can see what happens or what type of results we get, I'm more than happy to do that as well too. But we're going to go over the layout of the website, and then once we do that, take a minute or two doing that, then we'll get into the actual uses of ChatGPT. All right, so this page here, when you first go to chat.openai.com, this is the home page. This will always come up after you log in. Right here again, these three columns, basically showing you, give you examples of how to use ChatGPT, or what you can use ChatGPT for, what it's capable of, and what its limitations are. All right, so get familiar with the middle column and the third column, because there shouldn't be any. Once you get used to using this, there shouldn't be any surprises when it can't find something or gives you any incorrect information, because it's basically letting you know its a limitation. All right, so you have these three columns, and then right below these three columns is the message bar here. This is where you would type your prompt or your question or your instruction to ChatGPT. Now, after you type your instruction, if you come over to the left column here, it will actually save every chat that you have with ChatGPT. As you see here, I already have 4 that I started already. So in this left-hand column here, if I wanted to start a new chat, I would go here, click on new chat, and it actually shouldn't do anything because it's going to take me to this home page, and I'll just type in something real quick so you just see how it'll change. So I just typed in trees, giving me back this information. So I'm just stopped generating because I'm not really concerned with that, but I just wanted to show you what happens when you hit new chat, brings you to the home screen. You can type your message there at the bottom. All right. So one of the common uses that I said you could use it for, and one of my personal favorites, is the gaming aspect of it, the Dungeons and Dragons character. So let's see. I'm going to type in create a character that is a vampire, and he owns a dress shop, right? Put that in. It's going to give me a response, hopefully. Uh-oh. I think I might have stumped it. It's thinking. I broke ChatGPT. Oh, no, wait. There we go. Just took it a while. So, see, it's giving me a result here based on the instructions I gave it. Nothing too specific, just very vague. Just a vampire that owns a dress shop. It's giving me the description of the vampire, background, occupation, personality, name, age. So once it creates that, what I can do is now I should be able to start chatting with the actual character Victor. And that was the name, right? So I'll say, hello, Victor. So it gave me a response. I said, hello, Victor. The response was, because the ChatGPT is now going to respond to me as this vampire that it just created for me. It says, greetings, how may I assist you today? Are you in search of a fabulous gown or perhaps seeking fashion advice, right? So you see, once we started this chat, I had to create the character. So now this chat is now Victor in a sense, right? So everything I ask it is going to ask and respond as if it was Victor, unless I send a message to say, do not respond as Victor, just answer this question, right? So let's give it a whirl. So Victor, can you tell me about your family life? So it's giving me a response, and well, Victor is giving me a response. So, and I can just go on, play with that all day. But just wanted to show you that for anybody that plays D&D, plays any games out there. That's what you can use that for. Now, if you're working in the office setting, and let's say you need a contract, right? Your boss comes to you, say, hey, we need a quick contract for a job, right? So for myself, I'm an IT specialist, right? So I need a contract that's specific to the services that I provide, right? So one of the services I provide is social media management. So instead of writing a contract, you can actually tell ChatGPT to create a template contract for social media management. Actually, it must be a lot of traffic today because it usually doesn't take this long. All right, there we go. So it's giving me a template for that contract. And this is just a basic template. You can, copy and paste it, edit it however you want. Now, if you're someone who doesn't want to do a lot of typing or writing, when you're creating contracts like this, if you want ChatGPT to fill in, the company name, address, city, state, email address, phone number, your company name, the client name, any specific details about the contract, you can actually just type all of that information in, and ChatGPT will actually take that information and put it into the contract. So since we're already in this chat, contract's pretty much created. I should just be able to type in the client's name is John Doe. And it should give me a result. Yep, so here you can see in the contract that it generated before, it regenerated the same contract, but it added the client's name, John Doe. And any information that, again, any information that you want to put into that contract, you just need to be as detailed as possible when you're inputting that information into the chat. So now we're gonna, but yeah. So any contract, if you're like a nurse, a doctor, whatever your contract need. If you need a lease agreement, if you need a waiver for something, ChatGPT can create a basic template, or it can give you a template if you just ask for a template, or if you input all the information that you want inside of that contract, it will create the contract with the information that you provided. Okay, so any questions so far? All right. Now, one of the other services that I provide is I do resume building and resume writing, right? So a lot of people aren't familiar with or aren't really skilled at writing a resume, or may have not be good at writing. They may not know how to do it, but they may not be that good at writing a resume. ChatGPT can create a resume template for you. Okay, and the beauty part about that is it can create a template based on your job title or work experience. You don't have to put a whole lot into it. So let's just say that I am a nurse, right? So create a resume for a nurse, right? So we're going to put that in the chat GPT. So this is a resume before the information was, before we put any detailed information in. All right, so here's the resume. This is the template that we have. So it doesn't have any of the nurse's information in there yet. So all the name, address, education, certifications, all that stuff, we can copy and paste into a document, add that information. Even our work experience, right? But let's say, again, you're the type of person, most people don't have that time to just copy and paste and do all of that. What you want to do is everything that's in brackets, for your next response, you can put in, so you want your name, address, and phone number, right? So what we're going to do is we can actually take the message that we sent to the chat, which was create a, so let me do it. No. All right, cool. All right, so we initially put in create a resume for a nurse, right? So what I want to do is I wanted to create a resume, and I actually wanted to put in my information, right? So your prompt is going to be create a resume for a nurse. My name is John Doe. I'm going to put in my address. I'm just make up an address. So 123 ABC Street. And the email address is unknown. and just put something at AOL.com, right? And phone number 410-555 5555, right? All right. So one thing I want to point out here, and this will show you a good example of how well ChatGPT can take your information, even if you aren't necessarily specific with the information you give it, how good it is at taking your information and actually putting it where it needs to go, right? So right now, my prompt that I'm going to, or instruction that I'm giving ChatGPT is to create a resume for a nurse, okay? This is real general, just a nurse, it wasn't anything specific, right? And my next instruction, not even an instruction, I'm just putting in information. It says, my name is John Doe, 123 ABC Street. I put in the email address, put in a phone number, but I'm not specifying what is what, right? So I know from experience, because I've used this already, that it is going to take that information, even though I wasn't specific about what it should be used for. It should take this information and plug it in to this resume where it belongs. Yep, there it goes. So it put the name where it belonged, address, email address, and phone number. All right? So with that being said, the more information that you give the ChatGPT, the better instructions, the more specific you are with those instructions, the better the results that you're going to get, right? So without much effort, I now have a resume. I still need to replace it with I would need to replace it with my actual certifications, jobs that I've actually worked at, blah, blah, blah. But you get the gist. Like it can be as simple as you want. It can be as detailed as you want. It's just all about the information that you provide ChatGPT. Got a couple minutes here, so I'm gonna give a couple other examples. So if you're a teacher or educator, right, you can actually create lesson plans, right? So we're gonna give you an example of that. So we're gonna create geometry lesson plan, right? So something very general, nothing specific. So we're going to see what it gives us. All right. So introduction to geometry, exploring basic concepts, right? So by default, ChatGPT made this lesson plan at a 6th grade level, right? But I teach high school, right? So even though this may be a great lesson plan, I need something a bit more advanced for my students because they're older, right? So I'm going to go back up here, create geometry lesson plan for high school. And there we go, lesson plan, introduction to geometry for high school. And the results are similar to what we got before. Do you see some changes in there? But so there's our lesson plan, right? So we got a lesson plan, need to create a quiz, right? So we're going to continue in the chat. So since we've already, in this chat, since we already established that we are working on a lesson plan, right? The next thing I can instruct or ask ChatGPT to do is to make a quiz based on this lesson plan, right? So all I have to do is ask or tell it to create a quiz based on the lesson plan. And boom, there's a quiz. That easy. Now, if I wanted to make this quiz a 100-question quiz, that's what the instruction I would put in next is, okay, and that would be an instruction that I would put in. Say, create a quiz based off the lesson plan, 100 questions. It'll do 100 questions. Or if I wanted as little as 5 questions, I would have to tell it, create a quiz based on the lesson plan with only 5 questions, right? So the more details that you give ChatGPT, the better the results, all right? So for anybody in the chat, do you have any questions so far? Okay, I'm gonna go over 2 other examples, and then I'll be done. All right, moving right along. All right, so with the previous examples, I was, kind of showing that the more information that you give ChatGPT, the better the results, right? So I'm gonna give you a scenario where I'm going to just put in one word, and I'm gonna use Windows as an example because I've done this already. I know what we should get, right? So I typed in Windows. Now in my mind, oh, it didn't do it, so it learned. All right, that just kind of took the wind out of my sail. Hold up. All right, so, okay, there we go. All right. Supposed to put in window instead of Windows. All right. So, I put in window specifically because, like I said, I did this before, where window is such a general term, right? ChatGPT doesn't know if I'm referring to like a window on a building, a window that you can see through, or if I'm referring to Windows, the operating system, right? So when I typed in window and sent that prompt, what it did was it gave me the response that says, it seems you're referring to a term window in a general sense rather than specifically about Windows operating system. In that case, a window typically refers to a graphical user interface element that appears on a computer screen and displays the content of an application or program, so on and so forth. And it goes on talking about that. AI, as smart as it can be, still needs as much information as it can get to give you the best results, right? It can't read minds. It can't read your mind, right? So if you type in window and in your mind, you are expecting, or you may be expecting to get a result about, Windows on a building as opposed to Microsoft Windows. But ChatGPT doesn't know that. So that's why you have to be, in a lot of cases, very specific about something that you're going to ask it or have it create or instruct it to do something. Because like I said, the more specific you are, the better the results. All right. So one other example. So we're just going to do some fun stuff real quick. So I talked earlier about content creation and blog posts, right? So I'm going to start a new chat. And I'm going to ask it to create a blog post about Valentine's Day. 5 paragraphs. Yes. So it's creating my blog post. About Valentine's Day. And make sure when you use it for cases like this, or just anytime that you're using ChatGPT, don't just go wild and just take whatever results it gives you. Be sure to read through it and make sure that the information is A, the information you want, and B, it's correct information, and then C, that the information isn't repeated over and over again. From my experience with ChatGPT, a lot of things do end up getting repeated, or some of the same things are said in different ways, especially if you have multiple paragraphs. So the information kind of gets redundant. So be sure to check over that. Also, too, because of that, because ChatGPT yeah, I'm gonna get to your question in a moment, Will. Because ChatGPT is based off an algorithm, it's going to repeat a lot of terms over and over and over again, right? I saw it here. Like, for instance, ChatGPT, I've noticed this. It likes to use consider a lot. So you might get consider over and over in your paragraphs. But I also noticed, too, is that if you have multiple paragraphs, it'll have your introduction here, and then a lot of times I've noticed in the conclusion was just the introduction repeated. I've seen that a couple times, so be wary of that when you're doing that. So we had it create a blog post for Valentine's Day, right? For 5 paragraphs. So what you can actually do is, let's just say that I'm a 6-year-old kid, right? All right. You can actually ask it to create the blog post as a 6-year-old. And Will, your question was, can you ask ChatGPT things you might ask or look for on Angie's list, like who in the metropolitan area can mount my television? We can try it. We might get something. So right now, that blog post that we had to write previously, it's now writing it as if it was a 6-year-old, right? So I'm going to just read the introduction paragraph real quick. Hey, everyone. Valentine's Day is super special because it's all about love and happiness. On this amazing day, we get to show how much we love and care for our family and friends. It's like a big party of love. Let's find out more about Valentine's Day and how we can make it extra fun. So that was my blog post as a 6-year-old. I can also do accents as well, too. Create blog post as a British with a British accent. So in this introduction paragraph, good day, everyone. Valentine's Day, a delightful celebration of love and romance, is fast approaching. It's a splendid occasion cherished by people far and wide. On this day, couples exchange heartfelt gifts, express their affection, and create beautiful memories. Whether you're in a long-term relationship or basking in bliss of newfound love, Valentine's Day provides the perfect opportunity to honor the bond you share with your significant other. In this blog post, we shall delve into the enchanting realm of Valentine's Day, exploring its origins, timeless traditions, and unique ways to celebrate. And no, of us not going to do that in a British accent. But as you see, that is the capability of ChatGPT. You can go and you can have it create something generic, or you can have it create something, creative or specific, right? But that's all going to depend on how creative you are. The more creative ideas that you give ChatGPT, the better and more creative results that you are going to get. But that was just a basic example. Will, you said, so basically we want to ask it, we can see if it's possible, find a TV mounter in Baltimore City. Let's see what result we get. Did I spell that right? Oh. So it can't find a specific TV mounter, but it's giving us some steps or instructions on how to do it ourselves. Spoken like a true IT professional. The first thing it does, it says to do, search online, basically Google it. So there's your answer. So no, it cannot find anything specific. But I'm glad you brought me to that, because I almost forgot about that too. So but yes, it cannot find anything specific like that, like lookup services and things like that. However, if it just so happens that the information that has been fed into Chat GPT has that type of information, you would get a result. Now, how correct that information would be, I have no clue. But if it had any type of information pertaining to that, it would give you some result. It probably wouldn't be correct, right? Because that's one of the things that ChatGPT has not been given is personal information, right? So email addresses, email addresses, phone numbers, home addresses, things of that nature, unless that information is like for a famous person or a historical figure, and that information is somewhere on a website like IMDb or Wikipedia, you would get those type of results. Tula, yes, yellow pages do exist. I actually got one not too long ago, and they mainly use their website now. Can you chat GPT yourself like you can Google yourself? I actually tried that. It didn't give any results. Basically, I'll just show you what it. So I'm gonna put my name in. Jonathan Andrew Williams, Baltimore City. So the result was, so I put my name in and I put Baltimore City, and the result was, I'm sorry, but I couldn't find any specific information about an individual named Jonathan Andrew Williams from Baltimore City. It's possible that he may be a private individual or doesn't have significant public presence or recognition. If you have any specific questions or context about Jonathan Andrew Williams, please provide more details and I'll do my best to assist you. So, to Chat GPT, I'm a nobody. But if I did something, if I was a public presence, or I did something worth recognition, and it was somewhere in the information that was fed into Chat GPT, it would give me a result. But I am, in Chat GPT's eyes, I am insignificant. But let's see. You asked about a phone number. Pretty sure it's not gonna, because phone number would be considered, yes. So a phone number would be something that it does not have, because that would be considered PI, or personal information. So like I said, unless you're somebody important enough where you're getting talked about in blogs and on news websites, or you got a page on Wikipedia, ChatGPT is just not going to have access to that information, because ChatGPT will not and cannot search the internet. So any information we are getting, the results are actually coming from its huge database of information that has been fed all the way up until 2021. All right. So I've been talking your ears off. Any final questions for I end the presentation? I hope you've learned something. I hope you are now knowledgeable enough to go and seek out this information and learn more about AI and ChatGPT. But oh, you are welcome. Thank you. You are all welcome. So if there are no more questions, I'm going to end the live stream here. I will be doing more of these type of live streams on a weekly basis. So by the end of the day, I'll have a list of live streams that I'll be doing. They're going to be every Thursday from at 10 p.m. I'm sorry, at 10 a.m. and then again at 6 p.m. So if you can't make the morning, there will be a evening version of it. So thank you all for joining me. Glad you enjoyed it, and have a great day.